Nia tolerated her husband's insults for 3 years. She cooked his meals, fixed his clothes, and hid her identity to see if he truly loved her. Meanwhile, her husband Liam Vance, an arrogant CEO, treated her like she was nothing simply because she shopped at thrift stores and drove an old car. But at his biggest company gala, he crossed the line, humiliating her in front of everyone just to boost his fragile ego. What he didn't know is that silence doesn't equal weakness. He is about to learn that true wealth comes from character, not status. This is a story about financial independence, the high cost of disloyalty, and the most satisfying revenge story of the year. Watch to the end so you don't miss the shocking twist. Welcome to Folktale Bestie. We bring you powerful tales of justice, twists, and the lessons life teaches us when we least expect them. If you love stories that keep you guessing until the very end, please hit that subscribe button to help us grow this community. We love connecting with our global family. So let us know in the comments, which country are you watching from today? Now, let's witness the fall of the arrogant and the rise of the humble. The party was loud, expensive, and full of Chicago's richest people. But the loudest person in the room was Liam Vance. Liam was the CEO of Nextech. He was 34 years old, handsome, and very drunk. He stood in the middle of the ballroom, holding a glass of champagne, celebrating a big business deal he was about to sign. He felt like a king. "I built this company from nothing." Liam shouted to the group of older men around him, "I am the only one who matters." His wife, Nia, stood quietly beside him. She looked different from the other women. They wore diamonds and glittery gowns worth thousands of dollars. Nia wore a simple black dress she had bought from a second-hand store. Liam hated the dress. He told her in the car that she looked cheap. Nia saw the sweat on Liam's forehead. She saw how tight he gripped his glass. She knew the signs. He was losing control. "Liam," she whispered, leaning in close so no one else could hear. "Maybe you should drink some water? You have a big meeting tomorrow." She reached out gently to steady him because he was swaying. But Liam didn't want help. He jerked his arm away angrily. Splash! A small amount of red wine flew out of his glass. It landed right on the cuff of his bright white shirt. The music didn't stop, but the people around them did. They went completely silent. Liam looked at the red stain. Then he looked at Nia. His eyes were full of hate. "You idiot!" he yelled. His voice echoed in the big room. "I'm so sorry, let me fix." Nia tried to help, but he slapped her hand away. "Don't touch me." Liam screamed. "You ruin everything." Nia took a step back, terrified. Her heel caught on the edge of the thick rug. She stumbled forward, tried to catch her balance. Liam didn't help her. Instead, he looked at her with a cruel smile. He stuck his foot out and tripped her on purpose. Nia hit the hard floor with a heavy thud. Pain shot through her hip. She gasped. The guests covered their mouths in shock. Nia lay there for a second, trying to breathe. She started to push herself up, her hands shaking. Then Liam did the unthinkable. In front of his investors, in front of press, and in front of his friends, he kicked her. He used his expensive leather shoe and kicked her in the leg. It wasn't hard enough to break a bone, but it was mean enough to break a heart. "Look at her," Liam laughed, looking around the room for approval. "She is so clumsy, so useless." Nia froze on the floor. Her leg throbbed, but her heart felt cold. "I dragged her out of the gutter," Liam announced to the crowd, pointing a finger at her. "I gave her this life. I bought her clothes. And she still doesn't know how to walk on a nice floor." The room was deadly silent. No one laughed. No one moved. They just stared at him in horror. Nia didn't look at the crowd. She didn't cry. She fought back the tears. "No," she told herself. "I will not cry for him. Not this time." Slowly, Nia stood up. She brushed the dust off her simple black dress. She stood tall. She looked Liam right in the eye. He was waiting for her to beg. He wanted her to say sorry. She said nothing. She turned around and walked away. The crowd moved apart to let her pass. She walked out of the ballroom, her head held high, leaving Liam standing there with a stain on his shirt and a smirk on his face. "She'll be back." Liam shouted after her, taking another drink. "She has nowhere else to go. She's broke without me." He thought she was walking away in shame. He was wrong. She was walking away to start a war. The taxi ride from the hotel to the penthouse was silent. Nia didn't look out the window at the city lights. She stared straight ahead, her hands folded calmly in her lap. Her leg throbbed where Liam had kicked her, a dull, aching reminder of the night. But the pain didn't make her cry. It made her focus. When she arrived at their building, the doorman, Henry, opened the door. He smiled at her, but his smile faded when he saw her face. She looked serious, different. "Good evening, Mrs. Vance," Henry said. "Good night, Henry," Nia replied softly. She didn't stop to chat. She walked straight to the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. Inside the penthouse, everything was quiet. It was a huge apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive white furniture. Liam loved this place because it looked like a museum. Nia hated it because it felt like a freezer. She didn't turn on the main lights. She didn't need to. She walked into the bedroom and pulled 2 suitcases from the top shelf of the closet. She didn't smash the family photos. She didn't take scissors to Liam's expensive Italian suits. She didn't scream into a pillow. That was what helpless people did. Nia wasn't helpless. She was done. She opened the suitcases and began to pack. She moved quickly and efficiently. She packed her comfortable clothes, the ones Liam hated because they weren't sexy enough. She packed her books. She packed her laptop. She packed her passport and her birth certificate. She didn't pack the fur coats Liam had bought her to show off at parties. She left the red-bottom shoes he insisted she wear. She left the designer bags that he always checked for scratches. Those things belonged to Mrs. Vance, the trophy wife. That woman didn't exist anymore. Finally, she stood in front of the dresser. She looked at herself in the mirror. She reached up and unclasped the diamond necklace from around her neck. Then, she pulled the large diamond engagement ring off her finger. Liam always bragged about these diamonds. 3 carats, he would tell his friends. Top quality. Only the best for my wife. Nia looked at the ring in her palm. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled piece of paper she had found in his jacket pocket 3 years ago. It was a receipt, not from a high-end jeweler, but from a discount store. The receipt said, simulated diamond, cubic zirconia, final sale. She had never told him she knew. She had worn the fake ring for 3 years to keep the peace. But tonight, she was done pretending. She placed the ring and the necklace on the dresser, right next to his cologne. She placed the receipt underneath the ring, so he would see it. She zipped up her suitcases. She took one last look at the cold, white room. Then she walked out the door. She left her key on the kitchen counter. Nia took the elevator down. She walked past Henry the doorman one last time. "Mrs. Vance?" Henry asked, looking at the bags. "Are you going on a trip?" "Yes, Henry," Nia said. "A very long one." She got into a waiting Uber and disappeared into the night. 2 hours later, the front door beeped. Liam stumbled in. He was drunker than before. His tie was undone, and the wine stain was still on his cuff. "Nia!" he shouted. "Nia, bring me some water." Silence. He kicked off his shoes and almost fell over. "Don't ignore me, Nia. I know you're mad, but you embarrass me tonight." He walked into the kitchen. No water. He walked into the living room. No Nia. He stormed into the bedroom, ready to fight. "Nia, get up. We need to talk about your attitude." The bed was made. The room was empty. Liam stopped. He looked around, confused. He saw the closet door open. Her side of the closet wasn't empty, but her favorite things were gone. He walked to the dresser and saw the jewelry, the ring, the necklace, and the receipt. He picked up the receipt and read it. For a second, his face turned red with shame. She knew. She had known the whole time. But then the shame turned into anger. He threw the ring across the room. "Fine," he yelled at the empty walls. "Leave. See if I care." He pulled out his phone and dialed her number. He was ready to scream at her, to tell her to turn around and come back before he locked the door forever. "We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service." Liam blinked. He looked at the phone. Disconnected? She had changed her number already? He laughed. It was a cruel, loud laugh. He sat down on the edge of the bed and dialed his best friend, Mark. "Mark," Liam said, slurring his words. "You won't believe this." She left. Nia actually left. He listened to Mark for a second, then laughed again. "No, I'm not worried. Why would I be worried?" Liam stood up and walked to the window. Looking out at the city he thought he owned. "She has nowhere to go, Mark. She's a librarian. She makes minimum wage. She doesn't have a family to run to. She has nothing." Liam took a deep breath, feeling powerful again. "She's trying to scare me," Liam said confidently. "She'll sleep in a cheap motel tonight, realize she can't afford lunch tomorrow, and she'll be back here begging by noon. She needs me to survive, Mark. She needs my money. She needs my house. She's nothing without me." He hung up the phone and fell back onto the bed, closing his eyes. He slept soundly, believing he had won. He didn't know that the woman who left wasn't broke, and he didn't know that by the time he woke up, his war had already begun. It had been 7 days since Nia walked out. Liam didn't spend those 7 days looking for her. He didn't call the police. He didn't worry. Instead, he spent the week erasing her. By Friday afternoon, the penthouse didn't look like a home anymore. It looked like a party zone. "Put that over there, babe," Liam said, pointing to a large, gaudy sculpture. Vanessa walked in. She was 23, loud and very expensive. She was the daughter of Marcus Russo, a man Liam desperately wanted to impress to secure his company's funding. Vanessa was everything Nia was not. She wore bright colors, laughed too loudly at Liam's bad jokes, and loved spending money. "I love this view," Vanessa squealed, spinning around the living room. She kicked off her heels right where Nia used to sit and read quietly. "Are you sure your ex-wife won't mind me moving in so fast?" Liam poured 2 glasses of champagne. "Nia, please. She's probably sleeping on a friend's couch right now, wishing she hadn't been so stupid. She's history, Vanessa. You are the future." Liam wasn't just moving Vanessa in for love. He was making a business move. He thought that if he married Vanessa, her father would have to sign the merger deal. He was using her, just like he had used Nia. But Vanessa was too busy taking selfies in the mirror to notice. The next morning, Liam decided to control the story. He knew people were whispering about the incident at the gala. He had to make sure he looked like the victim. He invited a reporter from a popular business magazine to his office. He sat behind his big oak desk, looking sad and serious. "It was a hard decision," Liam told the reporter, pretending to wipe away a tear. "Nia was troubled. I tried to save her. I gave her a life most women dream of, but she was greedy. She didn't support my vision. She just wanted the lifestyle." The reporter wrote everything down. "She was holding me back," Liam continued, his voice getting stronger. "I was the sole provider. I paid for everything. The food, the clothes, the roof over her head. And she repaid me with disrespect. I had to let her go for the sake of the company." As soon as the reporter left, Liam called his lawyer. "File the papers," Liam ordered. "I want a full divorce. And I want everything. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. She gets nothing. Cite abandonment since she walked out. I want to crush her in court so she learns her lesson." Liam hung up the phone, feeling invincible. He had a new, younger girlfriend. He had the press on his side. He was about to sign the biggest deal of his life. He truly believed he had won. 500 miles away, the scene was very different. Nia was not sleeping on a couch. She was not crying in a motel. She was sitting in the back of a black, armored SUV with tinted windows. The seats were made of soft cream leather. The air conditioning was set to the perfect temperature. A driver in a sharp black suit looked in the rear-view mirror. "We are 5 minutes away from the airstrip, Ms. Sterling. The jet is fueled and ready for takeoff." "Thank you, James," Nia said calmly. She looked out the window at the passing trees. She wore a tailored business suit now, not the simple clothes Liam was used to. She reached into her purse and pulled out a simple black burner phone. It was the only way to communicate securely until she reached her family's estate. She dialed a number. It rang once. Talk to me. A deep voice answered on the other end. It was her family's head of legal. It's done, Nia said. Her voice wasn't soft anymore. It was cold and commanding. He filed the papers. He's claiming full assets. He's a fool, the lawyer replied. He just declared war on a ghost. What are your instructions? Nia looked down at her phone. She thought about the kick. She thought about the years of insults. She thought about him calling her a gold digger while he spent her family's investment money on champagne. Initiate the audit on Next Tech, Nia ordered. Full scale. No, Nia said, her eyes narrowing. Do it slowly. Freeze one account at a time. Deny one loan at a time. Cancel one supplier at a time. I don't want him to crash quickly. I want him to feel the water rising. I want him to panic. Understood, ma'am. The audit begins in 1 hour. Nia hung up the phone and snapped it shut. The SUV pulled onto the tarmac. A sleek, private jet with a Sterling family crest on the tail was waiting for her. Nia stepped out of the car. She took a deep breath of fresh air. She wasn't Mrs. Vance, the poor librarian, anymore. She was Nia Sterling, the heiress to an empire, and Liam was about to find out that he hadn't kicked a puppy. He had kicked a lioness. Monday morning arrived like a car crash. Liam walked into the Next Tech headquarters wearing a sharp blue suit, whistling a happy tune. He felt invincible. He had a beautiful new girlfriend. His divorce was emotion, and he was a king of his world. But by 9:30 a.m., the kingdom started to crumble. He was sitting in his office, looking at the skyline, when his chief financial officer, Gary, burst into the room. Gary looked pale. He was sweating. Liam, we have a problem, Gary said, his voice shaking. Don't bring me problems, Gary, Liam said, spinning his chair around. Bring me solutions. Is the merger paperwork ready? It's not the merger, Gary said. It's the bank. I tried to pay the electricity bill for the server farm this morning. The transaction was declined. Liam laughed. Declined? Don't be stupid. We have millions in that account. It's a glitch. Call the bank and yell at them until they fix it. I did call them, Gary whispered. They said the account is under administrative review. They froze it, Liam. We can't access a single cent. Liam stopped smiling. What do you mean, review? Who authorized a review? Before Gary could answer, the phone on Liam's desk rang. It was the head of production. Liam put on speaker. Boss! The production manager shouted over the noise of the factory floor. The trucks didn't show up. What trucks? Liam barked. The microchips. The supplier called 5 minutes ago. They canceled our contract. They said they found a compliance issue with our last order. Without those chips, we can't build the new prototype for the merger. We are dead in the water. Liam slammed his fist on the desk. This is ridiculous. Is everyone incompetent today? Fix it. Get another supplier. I tried. The manager said. I called 3 other companies. They all said no. It's like we've been blacklisted. Liam hung up the phone. His heart was pounding. This wasn't just bad luck. This felt personal. But he was too arrogant to realize who was behind it. He didn't think of Nia. He thought of his competitors. Someone is trying to sabotage me, he thought. By Wednesday, the situation was a disaster. The internet at the office was cut off for non-payment. The staff was whispering in the hallways. The merger deal was in danger. If Liam couldn't show the investors a working prototype by Friday, the deal was off. And if the deal was off, Next Tech would go bankrupt. Liam was desperate. He paced around his office like a caged animal. He needed money, and he needed it fast. He needed a miracle. Then his email pinged on his phone. It was the only thing still working. The subject line read, Investment Opportunity. It was from a firm called the Vanguard Group. Liam had heard rumors about them. They were a mysterious private equity firm. People called them the Fixers. They bought failing companies, injected cash, and saved them from ruin. They were known for being quiet, fast, and incredibly rich. Liam didn't wait. He called the number in the email. Vanguard Group. A smooth, robotic voice answered. This is Liam Vance, CEO of Next Tech. Liam said, trying to sound confident. "I'm looking for a strategic partner." "We know who you are, Mr. Vance," the voice said. "We have been watching your situation. The board is willing to meet with you. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. "I'll be there," Liam said. He hung up and let out a long breath of relief. He was saved. That night, back at the penthouse, Liam poured himself a large glass of whiskey. He felt the adrenaline rushing back. He had fixed it. He always fixed it. Vanessa was sitting on the white leather sofa, filing her nails. She looked bored. "It's handled, babe," Liam bragged, taking a big gulp of his drink. "I got a meeting with Vanguard, the big leagues. They're going to give me the cash to crush these bugs." He walked over to the window and looked out at the city lights. "Once I sign with Vanguard tomorrow," Liam said, a cruel smile spreading across his face, "I'll be untouchable. I'll have more money than ever. And Nia, she'll probably come crawling back asking for alimony. And you know what I'll give her?" He turned to look at Vanessa. "Nothing. Not a single penny. I'll make sure she starves." Vanessa stopped filing her nails. She looked up at him. She didn't laugh. She didn't clap. She just gave a small, strange smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're very confident, Liam," she said softly. "I'm a winner, Vanessa. That's what I do." Vanessa stood up and walked to the kitchen to pour herself a glass of water. As she turned her back to him, she glanced at the expensive watch on her wrist. She wasn't checking the time. She was checking the date. "Tomorrow at 10 a.m., she whispered to herself. Right on schedule. Liam didn't hear her. He was too busy toasting to his own reflection in the window, celebrating a victory that was actually his funeral. He was so desperate to be saved that he didn't ask why Vanguard had emailed him at the exact moment he needed them. He didn't ask who ran Vanguard. He was shaking hands with the devil, but he thought he was meeting an angel. The morning sun hit the glass windows of the penthouse, but Liam Vance didn't feel the warmth. He felt the cold, hard steel of ambition. Today was the day. Today, he would meet the board of directors at the Vanguard Group. Today, he would get the money to save his company and crush his enemies. He stood in front of the mirror, tying his silk tie. It cost $500. He smiled at himself. "You're a king, Liam," he whispered. "And kings don't worry about peasants." Vanessa was still asleep in the bedroom. Liam didn't wake her. He grabbed his briefcase and checked his phone. He had 10 minutes before his driver arrived. Just then, his phone rang. It wasn't the bank. It was Richard, his divorce lawyer. Liam answered with a smirk. "Richard, good morning. Tell me you have good news. Did you serve the papers? Is Nia crying in a cheap motel room yet?" There was a long pause on the other end. The silence was heavy. "Liam," Richard said slowly, "we have a problem." Liam rolled his eyes. "Why does everyone have problems this week? Just tell me she signed the papers." "We can't find her, Liam," Richard said. "My process server went to every motel in the city. We checked the homeless shelters. We checked the bus stations. She's gone. It's like she evaporated." "So she's hiding?" Liam laughed, grabbing his keys. "She's probably embarrassed. Keep looking. She can't get far on a librarian's salary." "That's the thing," Richard interrupted. His voice sounded nervous, which was rare for a man who charged $600 an hour. "Since we couldn't find her, I decided to run a level 3 background check. I wanted to find her parents. You know, maybe send the papers to her mother's house in Detroit." "Right. Mary the nurse," Liam said, checking his watch. "Boring woman. Lives in a small house. Drives a Ford. Just send the papers there." "Liam, listen to me," Richard said sharply. "I ran the Social Security number you gave me for Nia. The system didn't give me an address in Detroit." The screen turned red. Liam paused. "Red? What does that mean?" "It means high clearance," Richard whispered. "It means restricted access. It means the person I'm looking for is protected by privacy laws that usually apply to senators, diplomats, or billionaires." Liam let out a loud, barking laugh. "Billionaires? Richard, are you drunk? We are talking about Nia. My Nia. I pulled the birth certificate associated with that file," Richard continued, ignoring Liam's laugh. "It took some digging, but I found the mother's real name. It's not Mary from Detroit. Okay, who is it then? The Queen of England? Liam mocked. It's Evelyn Sterling, Richard said. The name hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Liam stopped laughing. He frowned. Sterling? Like the Sterling banking dynasty? The family that owns half of Chicago real estate. The same one, Richard said. Liam, if your wife is Evelyn Sterling's daughter, she isn't a librarian. She is the heir to one of the biggest fortunes in America. For a second, the room was silent. Then Liam shook his head and started laughing again. It was a loud, disbelief-filled laugh. Richard, you need to fire your investigator. He is an idiot. The documents look real, Liam. Stop. Liam shouted into the phone. Think about it. I lived with this woman for 3 years. She drove a 2010 Honda Civic with a dent in the bumper. She shopped at thrift stores. She clipped coupons for grocery shopping. When we went out to dinner, she complained that the wine was more than $12 a glass. Liam paced around the living room, waving his free hand. Nia isn't a secret billionaire, Richard. She is simple. She is plain. She is a mouse. Do billionaires wear shoes from Target? Do billionaires let their husbands talk down to them? No. If she was a Sterling, she would have left me years ago. She stayed because she needed me. She needed my money. But the Social Security number, it's a glitch. Liam snapped. A clerical error. Someone at the office typed the number wrong, and mix her up with some rich girl. Just fix it. Find the real Nia, the poor Nia, and serve the papers. I have a meeting with Vanguard in 20 minutes to save my company. I don't have time for your conspiracy theories. Liam, be careful, Richard warned. If this is true. It's not true. Liam yelled. Nia is nobody. And after today, she will be a divorced nobody. Just do your job, Richard. Liam hung up the phone angrily. He threw it into his pocket. Idiots, he muttered to himself. Everyone is incompetent. He walked to the elevator, fixing his tie one last time. He thought about what Richard said. Evelyn Sterling. It was a joke. A funny, impossible joke. He remembered how Nia used to sit on the couch, sewing buttons back onto his shirts to save money. He remembered how she would get excited about a buy one, get one free sale at the supermarket. He couldn't see the truth because his prejudice was blinding him. He believed that wealth looked like flash, noise, and designer labels. He couldn't understand that true power didn't need to show off. He judged Nia by her car, her clothes, and her quietness. He thought simple meant stupid. He thought thrifty meant poor, because he couldn't see her value. He couldn't see the danger. The elevator doors opened. Liam stepped in, pressing the button for the lobby. He was heading to the Vanguard meeting to sign his life away. He thought he was walking toward his salvation. He didn't know he was walking straight toward the daughter of Evelyn Sterling. He didn't know that the glitch was the only warning he was going to get, and he had just ignored it. The black sedan sliced through the Chicago traffic, but inside, Liam Vance's mind was moving faster than the wheels. He checked his phone for the 10th time in 2 minutes. No new emails. No new catastrophes. Just the looming silence of a bank account that was dangerously close to zero. He wasn't just broke. He was a criminal in the making. For the past 6 months, he hadn't just been spending his salary on Vanessa. He had been dipping into Nextech's operational funds. He called it creative accounting. The law called it embezzlement. He had moved $50,000 here for a diamond bracelet, $20,000 there for a weekend in Cabo. He told himself he would pay it back as soon as the merger went through. That was why today wasn't just business. It was survival. If the Vanguard Group didn't inject $20 million into his company by Friday, the auditors would look at the books. And when they looked, Liam wouldn't just lose his job. He would go to federal prison. "We're here, sir," the driver announced. Liam looked up. The Vanguard Group headquarters didn't look like a modern office. It looked like a fortress. It was a massive limestone building in the financial district, standing tall and silent among the glass skyscrapers. It didn't have flashing signs or neon logos. It simply had a heavy brass plaque by the door. Vanguard. Liam adjusted his jacket, swallowed the lump of panic in his throat, and stepped out. "Showtime," he whispered. Inside, the building smelled of old paper, lemon polish, and serious money. There was no pop music playing in the lobby. There were no receptionists chewing gum. The floors were marble, and the walls were paneled in dark, rich mahogany. It was a place where billionaires came to hide their wealth, not flash it. An assistant in a gray suit met him at the security desk. "Mr. Vance, the board is expecting you." She led him down a long, quiet hallway. Liam's footsteps echoed loudly, making him feel self-conscious. He tried to walk with swagger, but the building seemed to swallow his confidence. They reached a set of double oak doors. The assistant opened them, and Liam stepped into the boardroom. It was cavernous. A long, polished table stretched down the center of the room. Seated around it were 6 men. They were older, dressed in immaculate gray and navy suits. They didn't look like the tech investors Liam was used to, guys in hoodies who talked about disrupting the market. These men looked like they owned the market. They didn't stand up when Liam entered. They didn't smile. They just watched him with cold, unreadable eyes. "Gentlemen," Liam boomed, forcing a wide, confident smile. He walked to the empty chair at the side of the table, placing his briefcase down with a thud. "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. I know Nextech has had a rough week, but I assure you, the ship is steering itself back to course." The man closest to him, a silver-haired director named Mr. Thorne, adjusted his glasses. "We have reviewed the preliminary reports, Mr. Vance. There are concerns, specifically regarding leadership stability." Liam laughed. It was a loud, nervous sound that bounced off the mahogany walls. "Stability? Let me tell you about stability. I have never been more focused." He leaned forward, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret with friends. He felt the need to fill the heavy silence, to charm them, to make them see him as one of their own. "I know what you've heard," Liam said, waving a hand dismissively. "The divorce, the rumors. But let's be honest, gentlemen. We're men of the world. You know how it is. Sometimes a woman isn't a partner. She's an anchor." The board members didn't blink. They sat like statues. Liam took their silence for agreement. He kept talking, digging his grave with every word. "My ex-wife, Nia, she was dead weight." Liam sneered, feeling a rush of power as he insulted her. She was small-minded, risk-averse. She didn't understand vision. She wanted to clip coupons while I was trying to build an empire. Honest to God, getting rid of her was a business decision. I trimmed the fat. He sat back, looking around the table, expecting a nod, a chuckle, a hear. "Now that I'm free," Liam continued, tapping the table for emphasis, "the company will soar. No more nagging. No more holding back. Just pure, aggressive growth. That's what you're investing in. A man who knows how to cut his losses." Mr. Thorne looked at the man across from him. They exchanged a glance that lasted less than a second, but it was loaded with meaning. It wasn't admiration. It was a look a judge gives a defendant who just confessed to the crime without realizing it. "Is that so?" Mr. Thorne asked, his voice flat. "You view your wife as a liability?" "The biggest liability I had," Liam bragged. "But she's gone. Deleted. I'm the sole captain now." Mr. Thorne checked his watch. "The chairman has arrived." "Good," Liam said, straightening his tie. "I'm ready to sign. I'm ready to show him what a real leader looks like." Liam turned his chair toward the head of the table. He expected an old man with a cane. He expected a tycoon from Wall Street. He expected someone who would shake his hand and laugh about how annoying wives could be. He had no idea that the dead weight he had just bragged about dropping was the only thing that had been keeping him afloat. The trap was set. The door was closed. And Liam was sitting in the dark, thinking he had just turned on the lights. The heavy double oak doors at the end of the boardroom didn't just open. They swung wide with a rhythmic, heavy whoosh that demanded attention. The effect on the room was instantaneous. The 6 serious men in gray suits, who had sat like stone statues while Liam bragged, immediately stood up. They moved with a synchronized respect, buttoning their jackets and lowering their heads slightly. Liam, sensing the shift in gravity, jumped to his feet. He smoothed his tie, licked his dry lips, and turned toward the door. He arranged his face into a mask of deferential charm. He was expecting a geriatric tycoon, perhaps leaning on a cane, or a silver-haired titan of industry like Mr. Thorne. Instead, he heard the click of heels. It wasn't the frantic, scurrying sound of a secretary. It was a slow, deliberate, rhythmic strike against the marble floor. Click, click, click. Then she stepped into the light. She was wearing a cream-colored Italian suit that was tailored so perfectly it looked like a second skin. The fabric screamed quiet luxury. No logos, just impeccable structure. Her hair, usually pulled back in a messy bun with a pencil stuck through it, was now a sharp, sleek bob that framed her face like a helmet of war. Her makeup was minimal but flawless, highlighting eyes that were currently colder than the Chicago winter outside. Liam blinked. He squinted. His brain refused to process the visual data. He knew that face. He knew the curve of that jaw. But the context was so violently wrong that he felt a wave of dizziness. Nia walked past him without even glancing in his direction. The scent of her perfume, a rare, custom-blended jasmine and oud, washed over him. It was a smell of power. She walked to the head of the table, the seat reserved for the chairman. Mr. Thorne pulled the chair out for her. She sat down, crossed her legs, and placed a single leather-bound folder on the table. Only then did she look up. Liam was still standing, his mouth hanging open, his hand half extended to shake a hand that wasn't there. "Nia," he croaked. The name came out as a confused squeak. Then the confusion snapped into anger. He looked at the board members, then back at her. He assumed she had lost her mind. He assumed she had broken in to embarrass him one last time. "Nia, how did you get in here?" Liam shouted, his voice cracking. He pointed at the door. "Security! Someone call security. My ex-wife is crashing the meeting." The board members didn't move. Mr. Thorne looked at the ceiling. Nia didn't flinch. She opened the leather folder calmly, the rustle of the paper the only sound in the room. "Sit down, Liam," she said. Her voice wasn't the soft, pleading tone he was used to. It was a command. "I will not sit down." Liam yelled, his face turning red. "You are embarrassing yourself. You follow me here? To my business meeting? You're delusional. You need to leave before I have you arrested." Nia stopped reading the paper in front of her. She looked up slowly, locking eyes with him. "You are currently trespassing in my building," she said. The volume was low, but the authority was absolute. Liam laughed. It was a hysterical, breathless sound. "Your building? Are you crazy? Nia, you're a librarian. You make $30,000 a year. You shop at Goodwill. Stop playing games and get out." Nia closed the folder. She rested her elbows on the table and steepled her fingers. "I never lied to you, Liam," she said. "I told you I worked in the archives. I told you I managed history." "Exactly. A librarian. I am the chief archivist of the Sterling Family Trust," she corrected him, enunciating every syllable. "I manage my family's history, and I manage our investments. The Vanguard Group is a subsidiary of the Sterling Trust. I am the chairwoman of this board." Liam froze. The air left his lungs. He looked at Mr. Thorne, begging for him to say it was a joke. Mr. Thorne just nodded gravely at Nia. "And Next Tech," Nia continued, her eyes boring into his soul. "Next Tech is one of our micro-investments. I approved the initial funding 3 years ago. I wanted to see what you would do with it. I wanted to see if the man I loved was a builder or a leech." Liam gripped the back of his chair, his knuckles turning white. The room was spinning. "No, that's impossible. You drove a Honda." "I drove a Honda because I wanted a husband, not a fan," Nia said. "I wanted a partner who valued me, not the Sterling name. But you couldn't do that, could you?" She tapped the folder in front of her. "I was ready to sign the bailout, Liam. I had the papers drawn up last week. I was going to save your company despite your mediocrity." She stood up slowly. The men at the table straightened their posture. "But then," Nia said, her voice dropping an octave, "I saw the CEO of that company trip his wife and kick her on the floor of the Palmer House ballroom because she spilled a drop of wine." Liam opened his mouth, but no sound came out. We don't invest in abusers, Mr. Vance, Nia said, turning to the window to look out at the city she owned. True wealth whispers, Liam. It protects. It nurtures. Only the insecure feel the need to shout, to hit, and to destroy to prove they're big. And you are very, very small. She turned back to him, her face hard as stone. Security is coming, Liam, but they aren't coming for me. Liam looked around the boardroom, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. The walls felt like they were closing in on him. Nia sat at the head of the table, calm and terrifying, while the security guard stepped closer. He felt like he was drowning, but then his eyes landed on the one person in the room who could still throw him a rope. Vanessa. She was sitting quietly in the corner chair near the window, watching the scene unfold. She looked stunned, or at least, that's what Liam told himself. She must be confused. She didn't know Nia was crazy. She didn't know this was all some elaborate trick. Vanessa! Liam shouted, breaking the heavy silence. He stumbled away from the table and rushed toward her. Baby, listen to me. You have to help me. He reached for her hand, his palms sweaty and shaking. Tell them, Liam pleaded, pointing a trembling finger back at Nia. Tell these people who your father is. Tell them that Marcus Russo is backing Nextech. Tell them we don't need their money because your family is going to buy the whole company. He turned back to the board members, a desperate, manic grin on his face. You think you can scare me? My fiancée is the daughter of the biggest real estate mogul in New York. If you kick me out, the Russo family will destroy you. Liam looked back at Vanessa, waiting for her to stand up and defend him. He waited for her to pull out her phone and call her powerful father. He waited for the rescue. But Vanessa didn't move. She didn't reach for his hand. She didn't even look at him. Slowly, Vanessa stood up. She smoothed the front of her gray blazer. The bubbly, loud, gum-chewing girl who loved expensive champagne was gone. In her place stood a woman with cold eyes and a posture as stiff as a soldier. She walked right past Liam. She didn't stop to hug him. She didn't whisper a word of comfort. She walked straight to the head of the table where Nia was sitting. The room was deadly silent. The only sound was the clicking of Vanessa's sensible heels on the marble floor. Liam watched, confused, his arms still half raised for a hug that never happened. Vanessa, he whispered, what are you doing? That's her. That's the enemy. Vanessa ignored him. She stopped next to Nia's chair and placed a black tablet computer on the mahogany table. Here are the final audio logs, Miss Sterling, Vanessa said. Her voice was unrecognizable. It wasn't the high-pitched, girlish voice Liam was used to. It was deep, crisp, and professional. And here's the forensic accounting report. Vanessa continued, tapping the screen. We tracked the transfers he made this morning. $50,000 to the offshore account in the Caymans, just like we suspected. It's all documented. Liam felt the floor sway beneath his feet. He grabbed the back of a leather chair to keep from falling. Miss Sterling, Liam stammered, looking between the two women. Vanessa, why are you calling her that? Why are you giving her my files? You're my fiancée. Vanessa finally turned to look at him. The warmth he usually saw in her eyes was completely gone. She looked at him the way a scientist looks at a bug under a microscope, with zero emotion and a little bit of disgust. I'm not your fiancé, Liam, she said flatly, and my last name isn't Russo. Marcus Russo doesn't exist. Nia opened the file on the tablet, scrolling through the evidence with a calm expression. She didn't look surprised. She looked satisfied. Liam, Nia said softly, not looking up from the screen, I'd like you to meet Agent Vanessa Cole. She is the head of forensic accounting for the Sterling Trust. I hired her 3 months ago. Hired? Liam choked out the word. I suspected you were stealing from the company, Nia explained, finally lifting her eyes to meet his. But I needed proof. And more importantly, I needed to know if your cruelty was just stress or if it was your character. So I sent Vanessa to test you. It was a loyalty test, Vanessa added, crossing her arms over her chest. Miss Sterling created the persona of the rich heiress. We wanted to see if you would stay loyal to your wife when a shinier, richer option appeared. Liam shook his head, trying to deny reality. No, that's not true. We went to Cabo. You told me you loved me. You said I was a genius. I was doing a job, Vanessa said coldly. And honestly, it was the hardest job of my life. Listening to you brag about yourself for 3 weeks was torture. You have no idea how many times I wanted to vomit while you spent your wife's money on ugly jewelry. You failed the test within 48 hours, Nia said. Her voice was heavy with disappointment. You didn't just cheat, Liam. You emptied your company accounts to impress a stranger. You badmouthed a woman who supported you for years, just to look big in front of a woman you thought had money. Nia stood up slowly. She walked around the table until she was standing right in front of him. Liam shrank back, feeling smaller than he ever had in his life. You see, Liam, Nia said, you thought you were trading up. You thought you were swapping a Honda for a Ferrari, but you were just swapping a partner for a mirror. You wanted someone who reflected your own greed, and because you were so busy looking at yourself, you didn't notice you were being watched. Liam looked at Vanessa, pleading one last time. But the merger, the Russo money, it's all gone. It never existed, Vanessa said, picking up her tablet. The only thing that's real is the prison sentence you're facing for embezzlement and fraud. Liam fell back against the wall, sliding down until he hit the floor. He had no investors. He had no fiancé. He had no defense. He had chased the illusion of status so hard that he had run straight off a cliff. He realized too late that by cheating to get ahead, he had only cheated himself out of the only person who had ever truly loved him. He had courted betrayal, and now, betrayal was the only thing he had left. Liam sat on the floor of the boardroom, his expensive suit crumpled, looking up at the 2 women who had dismantled his life in less than 10 minutes. The silence in the room was deafening. He waited for Nia to scream, to gloat, to throw a glass of water in his face. Anything that would make this feel like a fight, he could understand. But Nia didn't scream. She simply walked back to her leather chair at the head of the table and sat down. She reached into her folder and pulled out one final, crisp sheet of paper. Get up, Liam, she said quietly. It wasn't a request. Liam scrambled to his feet, his legs feeling weak and rubbery. He approached the table slowly, like a condemned man walking to the gallows. Nia placed her hand on the paper and slid it across the mahogany surface. It stopped right in front of him. Liam stared at it. His eyes were blurry with panic, but the bold black letters at the top of the page were unmistakable. Notice of immediate termination. What is this? Liam whispered, his voice trembling. You can't fire me. I'm the founder. I own this company. You own a minority stake, Nia corrected him, her voice smooth and cold. And you operated under an employment contract signed 3 years ago when Nextech accepted its first major round of funding. She pointed a manicured finger at the 3rd paragraph. Read Section 4, Paragraph B, she ordered. Liam squinted at the text. The morality clause. Conduct detrimental to the reputation of the firm. Nia recited from memory, not even looking at the paper. Including but not limited to public acts of violence, documented criminal activity, or gross negligence. Liam looked up, his face pale. You knew about this clause? I wrote it, Liam. Nia said, I wrote it 5 years ago under the name of a shell company, Archimedes Holdings. I insisted it be included in your contract before I approved the first check from the Sterling Trust. I want to protect the investment in case the CEO turned out to be a liability. She leaned forward, her eyes locking onto his. Your behavior at the gala, kicking your wife in front of Chicago's elite, triggered the clause immediately, and your admission of embezzlement today sealed it. Liam shook his head frantically. Okay, fine. Fire me. I don't care. I'll take my severance package and leave. My contract says I get $5 million if I'm let go. I'll start over. Nia let out a short, dry laugh. It was a terrifying sound. You really didn't read the fine print, did you? She asked. The morality clause voids all financial payouts. There is no severance, Liam. There is no golden parachute. You are leaving with nothing. Nothing. Liam choked. But I have rights. I have assets. You have absolutely nothing, Nia said, her voice dropping to a whisper that echoed in the silent room. The penthouse you live in, leased by Nextech for executive use. That lease is terminated effective immediately. The lock codes have already been changed. Liam felt like he had been punched in the stomach. My home. The Porsche? Nia continued, ticking items off on her fingers. Company lease. The repossession team is towing it from the garage right now. My car. Even the phone in your pocket, Nia said, pointing at his chest. That is corporate property. Hand it over. Liam clutched his chest pocket. No, I need my phone. My contacts, my life. It's not your life, Liam. It never was. It was borrowed. Nia looked past him toward the heavy double doors. She nodded once. The doors opened, and two large security guards stepped into the room. They wore gray uniforms and serious expressions. Liam recognized them. He walked past them every single morning in the lobby. He had never said good morning. He had never learned their names. He had treated them like furniture. Now, they were the ones in charge. Mr. Frank, Mr. Davis, Nia said politely. Please escort Mr. Vance from the building. He is no longer an employee, and he is refusing to surrender company property. The guards stepped forward. They were big men, solid and immovable. Sir, the guard named Frank said, his voice deep and rumbling. Please give me the phone. Liam looked at the guards, then back at Nia. The reality of his situation finally crushed him. The arrogance evaporated, replaced by pure, desperate terror. He burst into tears. Nia, please, he sobbed, the sound echoing embarrassingly in the large room. He fell to his knees, grabbing the edge of the table. Don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you. I've always loved you. We can fix this. He crawled toward her, tears streaming down his face, ruining his expensive suit. Baby, please, he begged, reaching for her hand. I was stressed. The drinking, it wasn't me. I'll change. I'll go to therapy. Just don't take everything away. Don't leave me with nothing. Nia pulled her hand away as if he were burning her. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked at him with a profound, exhausting pity. You aren't crying because you lost me, Liam, she said softly. You're crying because you lost your things. You loved the lifestyle I subsidized, not the woman who made it possible. She looked at the guards. Take him. Frank and Davis reached down. They didn't handle him gently, but they didn't hurt him. They simply lifted him up by his arms like he weighed nothing. Liam kicked and screamed, his expensive shoes scuffing the floor, the same way he had kicked Nia just days before. I'm the CO. Liam screamed as they dragged him toward the door. You can't do this to me. I built this. You built nothing. Nia said, her voice finally rising, sharp and final. You stood on the shoulders of people you thought were beneath you, and now you're falling. The guards dragged him through the door. Liam's screams faded down the hallway, past the secretaries he had yelled at, past the interns he had ignored, past the people who were now watching his downfall with quiet satisfaction. Nia watched the doors close. The room was silent again. She took a deep breath, and for the first time in 3 years, she felt the heavy weight on her chest disappear. She picked up the termination letter, folded it neatly, and placed it in the trash. The revolving glass doors of the Vanguard building spun with a heavy, dismissive whoosh, depositing Liam Vance onto the cold concrete of the Chicago sidewalk. He didn't walk out. He was firmly guided out. Frank, the security guard, shoved a small, cardboard box into his chest. You are no longer permitted on the premises, Mr. Vance, Frank said, his voice flat and professional. If you return, we will call the police for trespassing. The door sealed shut behind him, locking with a magnetic click that sounded final. Liam stood there, blinking. The noise of the city assaulted him. Honking taxis, shouting pedestrians, the rumble of the L train overhead. Just an hour ago, he had watched this street from the climate-controlled silence of the boardroom, feeling like a god looking down on ants. Now, he was on the ground level, and he felt very, very small. He looked down at the box in his hands. It didn't contain his life. It contained the only things Nia had allowed him to keep: a plastic stapler, a stress ball shaped like a globe, and a framed photograph of himself shaking hands with a minor celebrity. That was it. That was the sum total of his empire. Then, The sky opened up. It started as a drizzle, but within seconds, it turned into a freezing, gray Chicago downpour. The rain soaked through his custom Italian suit instantly, turning the expensive wool heavy and sodden. It plastered his hair to his forehead and dripped down his nose. Passers-by hurried around him with umbrellas, grumbling about the weather. None of them recognized him. To them, he wasn't Liam Vance, the tech visionary. He was just another suit having a bad day, a wet obstacle on the sidewalk. He didn't move. He couldn't. He stood frozen near the curb, staring at the revolving doors, waiting. A part of him, the arrogant, delusional part that still lived deep in his brain, thought this was a test. He thought maybe Nia was watching from the window. He thought if he looked pathetic enough, she would come down and save him. She always saved him. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Finally, the door spun again. Liam straightened up, wiping the rain from his eyes. He stepped forward, a desperate smile forming on his lips. A team of people exited first. Lawyers in trench coats. Security guards holding large black umbrellas. And then, in the center of protection, walked Nia. She was dry. She was calm. The gray light of the rainy afternoon seemed to make her glow. She wasn't looking down at her phone or rushing to avoid the rain. She was walking with her head high, surveying the street with the confidence of a woman who owned the block. "Nia!" Liam shouted over the sound of the traffic. He stepped toward her, clutching his wet cardboard box. The security detail immediately tightened around her, stepping in his path. But Nia raised a hand. The guard stepped back, allowing a small channel of space between them. She stopped. She turned to face him. Liam stood there, shivering, water dripping from his chin. He expected her to laugh. He expected her to pull out her phone and record him, to post it online and humiliate him the way he had humiliated her. He braced himself for her anger. But when he looked into her eyes, he didn't find anger. He found something far worse. Pity. She looked at him the way one looks at a car crash on the side of the highway. Tragic, messy, and entirely avoidable. "Nia!" Liam croaked, his voice cracking. "Look at me. I've lost everything. Is this what you wanted? Are you happy now?" Nia adjusted her coat, the rain drumming softly against the umbrella held over her head. "Happiness has nothing to do with you, Liam," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried clearly over the noise of the city. "And neither does my wealth." "You tricked me," Liam spat, trying to summon one last ounce of defiance. "You lied to me for 3 years. You pretended to be poor." Nia shook her head slowly. "I didn't hide my wealth to trick you, Liam," she said. "I hid it to see if you loved me, or if you just loved what I could give you." She glanced at the wet box in his hands, then back to his face. "I wanted a husband who would defend me when I was wearing a thrift store dress, not just when I was wearing a crown. But you couldn't do that." She took a step toward the waiting black car at the curb. A driver held the door open for her. "Thank you, Liam," she said, looking back at him one last time. "Thank you for showing me the truth before I signed the check. You didn't break my heart. You saved my bank account." "Nia, wait!" Liam lunged forward, but the security guards blocked him like a concrete wall. "Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do?" Nia paused at the car door. She didn't look back. "You're a self-made man, Liam," she said. "Go make yourself." She slipped into the back seat of the car. The heavy door slammed shut with a solid, expensive thud. The tinted windows were black. He couldn't see her anymore. She was gone. The car pulled away from the curb, splashing a wave of dirty puddle water onto Liam's shoes. He watched the taillights disappear into gray traffic, blending in with 1,000 other cars. Liam Vance stood alone on the corner. He was wet, cold, and bankrupt. He had treated people like disposable objects, and now he had been disposed of. The city moved around him, indifferent to his ruin. Inside the car, Nia didn't look back. She didn't celebrate. She didn't call a friend to gloat. She simply took a deep breath, exhaling 3 years of tension. She watched the rain streak against the glass. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. She deleted Liam's contact. Then she opened her calendar. She had a meeting with the board in an hour. She had a charity gala to plan. She had a legacy to build. She wasn't free because she had billions of dollars. She was free because she had reclaimed her voice. She had remembered who she was. As the car turned a corner, heading toward a future that belonged only to her, Nia Sterling smiled. It was a small, private smile. The storm was behind her. Nia proved that the ultimate power isn't the ability to crush your enemies, but the strength to show them mercy when they deserve it least. She didn't need a shout to prove she was a queen. Her actions spoke louder than any title ever could. She walked away not with the bitterness of a victim, but with the peace of a woman who knows her worth. This story reminds us that class has nothing to do with the price tag on your clothes, and everything to do with how you treat people who can do nothing for you. Be careful who you look down on, because the person you step on today might be the only one who can save you tomorrow. Thank you for watching this episode on Folktale Bestie. We hope this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of humility and grace. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to help us grow. We are building a community of storytelling lovers, and we want you to be a part of it. And don't forget, we want to know where our family is watching from. Drop your flag, or tell us your country in the comments below. Until next time, stay humble and stay blessed.